Hello and welcome back. It's time for Chit Chat with Two Teas. As usual, I am your host and counseling psychologist, JL Valdez. And with me today, we are custom traveling on Chit Chat. We gone to Tobago, we went New York, we went Detroit, and today we are visiting the land down under. We are going to Australia with my very, very special guest, Dr. Cle-Anne Gabriel. Yay! Hi, Cle-Anne.
Hey JL, how are you doing? Thanks for having me today.
Thanks for saying yes. And, we won't get into all the technical difficulties behind the scene, but guys,
We don't have
this,
to know
this,
about that.
this episode is going to be worth it. I can already tell you, it's going to be worth it. So
Yeah.
it's been a minute to synchronize schedules, but fortunately for us, tonight in Trinidad and Tobago and tomorrow, because I'm actually speaking to Cle-Anne in the future because there's a 15-hour time difference.
14 hours in the future.
14 hours into the future. You know what? This is marvelous. Like she could change our lives. But gosh, wow. It's been a long day, but we are happy to have her with us. And so, Cle-Anne, before we go any further, maybe you could tell our viewers a little bit about you.
Sure thing. Thanks, JL, for having me. I'm Cle-Anne Gabriel. I am a sustainable development specialist. I've been working in sustainability, I think it's the last 16 years or so, in a lot of different capacities around the world. At the moment, I'm 5 weeks into running my own business, ThinkZero. So ThinkZero provides advice and capability building to organizations. 5 weeks prior, I was head of decarbonization at KPMG Australia. So I've been working in climate change and sustainability for a long time.
A long time is right.
Well, relatively long time, I suppose, because there are a lot of people just getting into this field. It's interesting times and it's the right time to be in sustainability in my field, I think, at this moment. So we need to seize the day.
And so sustainable development professional, that's the title.
Sustainable development specialist, sometimes they call me. Sometimes I get pigeonholed into a little box of decarbonization only. But sustainable development, I think, is the most comprehensive descriptor of the work that I do.
Okay, and what does that mean?
So that means that I'm already 14 hours into the future here in Australia. My work is focused on future-proofing organizations. Now, a lot of people work on the development side of sustainable development. So we're working with governments, politicians, NGOs, bilateral organizations, the UNs and such of the world. My work focuses on organizations. A lot of them are businesses. So I'm helping those businesses future-proof themselves. So climate change is real. It's happening now. So those businesses now need to plan for a future where climate change is a real thing that affects their bottom line. It affects a lot of the financial things, challenges that they have to deal with. I help businesses who need to plan for their use of natural capital. So they need to think about how they're using nature and how their businesses are affecting biodiversity. They need to think about waste and circular economy. They also need to think about the people side of things, right? Like well-being. We're here to talk about mental health. That's a big part of sustainable development as well. So I do a lot of my work. I focus on the organizational side of sustainability. Yeah.
That is several mouthfuls.
Yeah, it is.
But I like it. I'm really proud of you. So, little backstory: I've known Cle-Anne since about 2007 when we both interned together during the July-August vacation, or as the kids these days say, summer vacation. Some of them say summer, and there's this, they like Java as well, July-August vacation Java. So, things are happening.
Okay. Yeah. So
if they like it, I love it.
What's that?
If they like it, I love it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, are we going back to BHP days? That's what we're doing? That's what you're trying to do?
That's what we're doing. We interned at BHP Billiton, being, interns and having lunch together. Big up that crew. You all know yourselves. Alicia and Alan and Victoria. You
You
know,
remember names? But yeah, you
I
don't even
do,
remember.
I do for the most part, for the most part. But because it was a million years ago, so it's okay if we don't all remember names. But I remember just thinking Cle-Anne was always a force since then. She always had a presence, and so to see the height to which she has ascended, I'm really proud of her. So I feel extra privileged that she said yes to be on our show today.
Well, look, you're doing important work as well, so I'm really happy. I had to say yes, and I think this my journey has not been a straight line. It's not been a straight journey.
Yeah,
I had my share of ups and downs, and so I think it was worth using this platform to communicate some of those challenges. I think it's a really important part of the journey that needs to be told.
agreed. Thank you so much. So as we're moving swiftly along, we're going into our first segment in terms of what's in your cup. So today I'm drinking some Dilma Ceylon tea because sometimes you feel for a little tea bag. But I have a very special cup. It is my Rotary, okay, special guest mug because I did a presentation for the Rotary Club of San Fernando. I think it was last month, and this was part of the token that they gave me. I just thought it was very cool that I have a Rotary Club special
Oh,
guest, right? Guest speaker, special guest speaker mug. So that's what's in my cup. What's going on with you? What's in your cup over there?
wasn't my cup. Well, since you're being so honest, remember the technical difficulties we had we're not going to talk about it. It doesn't matter how we got here, JL. The point is we got here and we're
We got
recording now.
here. We got
Yeah,
here. Yeah.
that's all that matters. My cup is now empty because I drank all the coffee during the.
I'm sorry.
This is a proverbial sip of a cup that we'll be doing today. So it was my
Yes.
morning coffee, which
Okay.
I only got into coffee here in Australia. I never drank coffee before.
Really?
Yes, under the influence of Australian friends because Australians are big on coffee culture. But the interesting thing,
Okay.
this is a keep cup. So I try to be more sustainable rather than getting the the one
Single use?
time the single use that's it cups. But the
Yeah.
interesting thing, I was trying to find a keep cup that represents me. And when I go and I order a coffee here in Australia, usually when they take your coffee order, they ask you for your name and they write their name down. And my name is Cle-Anne. And do you know
Right.
anybody else named Cle-Anne, JL? I don't know.
You are the only person in the world I know with that name.
Well, there's a story behind that name. That name was made up. But anyway, so the closest thing I could find, is Leanne. The camera could pick that up. You see Leanne there?
Leon.
That's my coffee name because I can't be bothered pre-caffeine. I can't be bothered explaining to the
Correct people.
to correct them, tell them how to spell my name. Yeah, so my coffee name is Leanne.
I love that for you. I love that you have a coffee alter ego.
That's right.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So do you drink your coffee straight black? Do you have like a particular flavor that you like?
I drink an oat latte every morning. Now it depends. If it's a really tough day, I might. It's very rare. I might have a black coffee, just long black. We call it here in Australia, plain black coffee around the middle of the day, 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Kind of thing. But most times I just need my 1 cup in the morning and I'm good to go.
I admire you. I have concerns for all my coffee addict friends, but according to you, there were things that you could be addicted
to. Well, if you drink it in moderation, there was things to be addicted to that coffee, and apparently coffee has health benefits too. They say
it does. So I've heard. Right, but I mean that's good. So thank you for telling us literally what's in your cup. What is going on with you figuratively? What's figuratively in your cup?
Well, girl, as I told you, I've started my own business.
That's a huge deal. Congrats.
Thank you. The business has been running actually for almost 3 years now, but I was not doing it full time. It was a side hustle while I was at KPMG and doing other corporate roles. It was time to go all in and focus on it. So that's what I'm doing now. That is a big chunk of my cup. Motherhood is in my cup at the moment. And I think those are probably the two biggest things at the moment.
Yeah.
in
I
my
know
work.
that balance is I think balance is a myth in terms of work-life balance, so to
Mm.
speak. I think that it's more of like a juggling act.
It's a
And you know,
rhythm, not a balance. I mean, I said this before, right? Because balance implies that we're trying to do it all at once, right? We
correct.
constantly trying to keep all the, like juggling, right? All the balls in
Yeah.
the air simultaneously. But I feel like it's, if we let go of that expectation, because it's quite an impossible expectation, and we just
Yeah.
remind ourselves that actually we're in this for the long haul,
Yeah.
right? In this for the long haul means that you'll have seasons, and you just need to find the rhythm of those seasons, right? So I was in the early years, my son was young, like 5 years and younger. It was a mothering season, and I worked as well, but the rhythm was different. And now that
Yeah.
he's older, my rhythm's changed again. So now I can actually spend more time on work. He's much more independent now. So I talk about work-life rhythm. That's what I call it instead of
I
work-life
would
balance.
like you to know that I'm stealing it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You didn't
Yeah.
trademark it.
I
I'm
didn't
stealing it.
trademark it. I didn't trademark
When
it.
you
It's
when you hear that randomly, because you know how things go in this
yeah.
global village, and things just come back to you, and you hear work life rhythm. Know that I stole it and shared it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I give
You're
you
welcome.
permission to do it. You're good.
Thank you. So you see, I didn't because you gave me permission, so I'm not a thief. Thank you.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. It is about that rhythm, and I love that concept. I mean, I've always been intrigued by the concept of balance, and all the different ways in our lives. And I think that a rhythm is, now another intriguing aspect to that concept. So thank you. I want to explore that. So for
Mm.
you, how is your rhythm? I mean, you've talked about, the fact that your son's a little bit older now, but you're also moving full time into your own business. And we all know entrepreneurship
Yeah.
is risky. It's a huge
It
risk.
is.
You
It's a
know,
very
how do you feel? How are you managing so far in terms of those two huge roles?
yeah. Look, I think the underlying basis of me always thinking about this as work-life rhythm rather than a
Hmm.
balance is the concept or the notion of movement. So I am my life, we're on a journey. I'm constantly moving towards wherever my life is moving towards, which
Yeah.
means that as things are constantly changing, so I need to deal with the now, but I need to also bear in mind that there will be a hereafter.
Right.
There will be a next month. There will be a next year, and I'm just sort of pacing myself. And I'm on this long term journey that is my journey and only mine. So for
Yeah.
me, I have to say, when I left, it was a huge risk, and another good friend said it to me recently as well. She said it's a massive risk to leave a head of role at a big,
Yeah.
well-established organization. It's a known brand, but I'm really pleased with the decision, and certain things have happened in the last 5 weeks or so to really assure me that this was the right decision for me. And it was time, because sometimes when we embed ourselves, I embedded myself and my brand within this bigger brand. And it was sort of a good meeting of the brands, a good collaboration. But at the
Hmm.
end of the day, my brand, my personal brand, was not allowed to shine. The times when I felt like me and my leadership really shone through, the people who benefited from that, I mean, I was not the one benefiting from that, right? It
Correct.
went back to the corporation. So it
Yeah.
was time for me to reap the rewards of my brand, of my hard work, of the seeds that I planted. And I know that it's not going to be easy. Like the first year
Of
starting your business
course.
was hard, but I'm not in this for the first year. This is a sort of a long-term strategy. Again, that's that movement. So what that means for me, um, right now, so ThinkZero at the moment, I'm in the phase of raising capital. I've had a few people who are really keen to invest, and I'm just trying to figure
Lovely.
out, but I'm trying to figure out whether or not those people and their brands are aligned to my brand. I'm all
That's
about the,
important.
it's so important. I don't just want to take their money, even though it's good, it's very good money,
Hmm.
but it takes a sort of belief in myself and my value to be able to say, I want some money invest in this business, but I only want it from the right people with the right values and the right sort
Absolutely.
of background. So that's where I'm at the moment. And the last 5 weeks, by the time I left, I already had customers. We signed our first retainer contract a couple of weeks ago. So I've got a client on retainer. I've got, so there are things happening. The business is actually doing quite well.
Great.
So right now, I focus on that. Now, and I'm not trying to do anything too big too soon. This year is
Right.
all about just getting the work done, making sure I hire
Pacing
the right
yourself.
people on me. I'm pacing myself. On the parenting side, my son, so I'm divorced. I think you know that already. And so it's been about 6 years. And my son, as of 2020, so 4 years ago, we moved to a 50-50 custody arrangement.
Okay.
So what is that? So that means that my son spends 1 week with his father and 1 week with me. And that really works well for that rhythm, right? So I have weeks when I'm all in with my son. I try not to work late nights. This week it's me and he's with his father. So this week I'm doing late nights. I'm recording.
Right.
doing
Yay.
interviews, doing other things that are not within a regular business day. So that's how I find sort of balance. I know it may not be the story or the case for everyone, but that arrangement helps me to do that, to find that rhythm.
And that's important because, I mean, at the end of the day, as you said, everybody's story is different. And what works for you may not work for somebody else, but this is your story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So backtracking a little bit, how did you even end up in Australia?
We want the full story, Jill, or
That's what we're here for. We're here for the stories.
It was so in short, I went from Trinidad to Canada for 1 year when I was at UE to do an exchange program. Came back, finished undergrad. Then I went Japan, then Germany, then from Germany to New Zealand and New Zealand to Australia. So that's the path that I took.
Wow.
How I got to Australia, I was living in New Zealand for 5 years. I finished my doctorate. I was actually running a small business there as well, and I was also looking for work at the time. And the University of Queensland offered me a job, and Queensland is here in Australia, and so they moved us over to Australia. So I came to Australia for work. Was offered by the University of Queensland, and then from there everything spiraled. After spending some time at the university, I moved back into corporate and to work in business. The story I have to say though of Japan is an interesting story. I remember.
Yeah, because I never heard of Japan. Like, I feel like that's news to me.
You didn't know I was in Japan?
I feel like I did not know this.
Really? Well, so I was at UE. I was finishing up. I used to study Japanese at UE. What do you call? In UE, is it CLL, Center for Language
Learning?
Learning?
Center for Language Learning. Yes.
I'm proud of myself remembering that.
Good job, sis.
I studied Japanese for a little while at CLL. I was always interested in the culture. I applied to do a master's in Japan at this university that teaches both in Japanese and in English. Okay. And I got in, but they offered me, I think it was like a 45% tuition reduction scholarship. So I still had to pay the remaining it was 35%. So I had to pay the remaining 5%. And so I remember, this is one of those, I think this in hindsight is one of the sort of defining moments for me of sort of learning to take control of my future, of my journey, of my narrative. Because I remember emailing the university and saying, thanks very much for the 35% scholarship, but you know what? I still can't afford the remaining 65, to be honest. I still can't, because I don't come from, a wealthy family, and I remember thinking, I'm just going to have to give up. It's not going to work out. And eventually they called me back and said, okay, we'll give you 100% scholarship. But if you take 100% scholarship, you have to work as well. I was like, well, thanks very much. International work experience.
That's
and a scholarship, I will take it. So, but I didn't give up. if I didn't speak up, the alternative was I probably would have just turned it down. I would have never said
Yeah.
anything. So yeah, I would never. I always remember that moment of, and I just left. I'd never been to Japan, barely an experience outside of
Wow.
Trinidad, and just left. Yeah, but I'm really happy I did, in hindsight. Yeah,
Yes, because look at the trajectory of your life since then.
yeah. That's. I think those moments are really important, JL. I think we have to back ourselves. We need to. It takes a lot of courage to move to the next phase and the next stage, and
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how much work it takes internally to do that. There's a lot
Mhm.
of it's really painful,
Yeah.
and a lot of courage to do.
So you've experienced quite a lot. You're doing a lot. You have experienced several different cultures, and now you're at this point. So I want to ask you, what boils your water? What are some of your pet peeves? Because you could, I mean, and it could be anything because we're talking different cultures. We're talking about, with your work and sustainability. Like, what are some of your pet peeves? What boils your water?
We can go real petty with the pet peeves, like typos really get me going. I can't stand typos
Let's
and
go.
grammatical
Typhoon.
errors. Especially, yeah, well, typos are okay if it's a genuine mistake. But my son, he's going to be 10 in a few months, and
Wow.
teachers, some of them can't spell, and that I don't know how you can be in a teaching profession and teaching English and marking him wrong for grammar when he's right. Those things grind my gears. But here in
Yeah.
Australia, actually, it's not that important. I think Trinidadians, we get pretty wound up about grammar and proper English, which I don't they don't have to unpack that now, but
Yeah.
people find it very weird here that I get really annoyed with, especially with my son's teachers and people in leadership who can't write and spell and that kind of thing.
Wow.
Um, but it's also cultural here, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
That's so important. Grinds my gear. Sustainability. I mean, everybody now calls anything that's a little bit good for the planet green, which is absolutely wrong. Nothing
Okay.
that I can think of that's man-made is 100% completely green. We need to just completely get rid of that
Yeah.
title of all things green. Green, I don't know, green glass, green cement, green, because there's always an impact somewhere. So you
Yeah.
might, just because you have no carbon emissions, let's say you can totally eliminate the carbon emissions from a manufacturing project or something, doesn't mean that you're
Mm-hmm.
completely green, because you're probably having impacts in other places. Water,
Right.
biodiversity, other toxic chemicals, that kind of thing, and probably having really terrible impacts on people. So human rights violations in supply chains, for example. So
Mm-hmm.
I get really annoyed with the green label on things. I just think anyway, but the government of Australia is on my side these days. These days you can get
Woohoo!
a fine. You can get a fine for greenwashing, for claiming things are green, if they're not.
Greenwashing. Wow.
Yeah, so that's good.
I like
Um,
that.
yes. So yeah, I think that's the grammar thing is a little bit petty, but I just gonna have to admit that's who I am. And professionally, the green label I think is really inaccurate, and I think people need to stop calling things green
Yeah.
fully. Yeah.
How did you get into sustainability? What made you choose that? Or did it choose you?
Um, Girl, I'm not really sure there's a defining moment where I could say I got into sustainability. I think I always enjoyed the subjects that were related to sustainability. So
Mm-hmm.
when I went to school, when I went to Bishops, I
Big up,
had
bitch up.
boop, boop. I had to throw in a little plug. I
Funny.
did, yes, all this subject, geography, biology. I think I had really good teachers as well who really inspired me and encouraged me to continue studying those subjects. I loved science. Science maybe didn't love me back as much as I loved it.
That's how I feel
But
about math, but I didn't love math.
I actually like the idea of math. You
I
know,
like that. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like the idea of math, but There's a lot I learned about myself. We're going a little bit off topic. The math story is an interesting one too for me, I have to say. I don't think I ever spoke about this publicly. I have always enjoyed the idea of math, and I know we're going back to like school days here.
That's fine. That's all part of the journey.
Well, good. Well, exactly. That's part of my journey. But I didn't do well. I did math really well, but because I enjoy the concept of math, I decided to take it on myself to study ad math. Right? Don't give me that look. I was like, I like math. I was doing well in regular math, so why not try ad math? I failed ad math. Ad math is the only subject I ever failed. Like literally failed it. Actually,
wow.
I didn't grade, but I just completely failed ad math. I've never failed anything before. And
that must have been like traumatic.
Well, yes, it was traumatic at the time. But in hindsight, now that I'm older and I am using math every day, like, for carbon accounting and doing lots of kind of things, I actually really do enjoy math a lot. And I realized that maybe I needed it to be taught in a different way. I'm a really visual person. Maybe I just needed to see math. I needed, these concepts. So you learn things along the way. It's lots of things in my life as a child, I think that contributed to who I am. But that's lifing.
That is life. Like, we are the sum total of all our parts. So did that have anything to do in terms of you being on this path to choosing sustainability?
Maybe. I always honestly I can't think of a single, like, I know I love nature. Honestly, my definition of happiness, my perfect house is a house in the middle of nowhere in the wilderness, no access roads. It's just me, maybe mountains, a lake, something, no people, it's far away. That I love nature. I like the solitude of nature, and I will always, in my most stressful times, I will exercise. And if the exercise doesn't work, I will drive away somewhere. I will go somewhere out in the bush of Australia and just escape.
With the spiders.
Yeah, I know, but the huntsman spiders, they're big, but they don't kill you. I mean, they'll bite you, but you won't die. Anyway.
That's good to know.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, I love nature. So I think I've always, and I grew up in Mayaro. So I grew up, my first home was by the beach in Mayaro. My father used to fish quite a lot when I was younger. And so I just grew up close to natural spaces. And so I think I always just I like to retreat to those spaces. And maybe that's contributed to me really enjoying sustainability. I think the high school teachers played a role. I think at university I had really good lecturers, geography lecturers in particular, who got me into not just the environmental side of sustainability, but the social side. I really enjoyed the social aspects of human geography. Well, I really enjoyed it as well. So yeah, I think, sustainability just came from a love of nature and natural spaces. And yeah, I think that contributed a lot to it. And, I don't know, failing, having gone through it a few times. Yes, we could talk about starting with ad math. That, I think, builds up resilience. It's important to fail and to know what that is. Yeah, you build up resilience, but also it helps you to carve out the guardrails of, I guess, what's for you and what's not for you, right? You kind of decide what you want to try again, and what you maybe will leave for someone else. So yeah, we learn.
And I just want to let our viewers and listeners know that Cle-Anne is saying exercising, but Cle-Anne is doing like all kind of random. What 5K, 10K on a morning and all kind of madness?
15K. And it's not anymore.
Don't you dare diminish what I do to 5?
In peak health, I used to do 15K but that was my nice Sunday morning run. But now I have plantar fasciitis. I've got bad knees. I've got my shoulder. Girl,
tell me you're in your 30s without telling me you're in your 30s.
Girl, my body it's not doing what they used to. So now my runs are jogs.
Okay.
It's not the same thing. I get the runner's high. You know, I feel good when I finish my 10K run. Even I feel so good. I do my best thinking on a run. When I'm happy, I run. When I'm sad, I run. When I'm scared, worried, afraid, I run. When I need to make a big decision about work, about business, about life, I run. I would just go for a run, and I know during the run or after the run, it will click. I know what to do. So that's just and I have to say 9 times out of 10 when I'm running, it's not really for the physical benefits, I'm running for the mental benefits of running. It's sort of active meditation for me. I love running.
I love that active meditation. That's a beautiful concept. So 2 things I'm stealing from you. All right. With life rhythm and active meditation.
Well, maybe I'm all about rhythm because I think the active meditation happens because of the rhythm. When I'm running, I'm focusing on music, but also there's the steady rhythm of feet.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And chasing pace, and that's all I'm focusing on. And that rhythm, I think, to me helps me meditate. Sometimes I forget I'm running. After the first 2.5 kilometers, my brain is in whatever problem I need to solve, whichever challenge I'm facing. Whether I want to cry because something bad happened or I don't know what to do. I cry and run so many times here.
I've cried because I've run. Yeah. No, but that is beautiful because I actually was going to ask you next about your mental health, and that's like the best segue ever. So that's one of the main ways, I guess, that you treat with it. And how do you deal with it? And how was your mental health in general?
I think my mental health is quite good. I know I speak to a therapist sometimes. I have been since just before my divorce. Because I've just, life isn't sort of it isn't perfect, right? It's really hard. Right. And as we get older, it just gets harder because, it's a lot of responsibilities. So I feel good. I'm in a good place right now. I won't say that it's perfect because I'm trying to grow a business by myself.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very, very challenging. I don't think people realize, I think the decision to become a parent is one that we take for granted. I think it's a huge responsibility. For me, I see it as a huge responsibility. I'm raising a citizen, a human being, and a boy too, who, with all the things we have with, we won't go into that, but women, we do go through a lot at the hands of men in society. Yeah. So I see there's a huge responsibility. So that does give me anxiety, and I do get I get really worried about that. Am I doing it right? I'm worried about how it's going to turn out. And the thing about parenting, though, you don't know if you succeeded until you succeeded. Like, it's not till I won't know till he's 30. So you're just playing it
minimum.
You just taking this one day at a time until he's 30. So well, maybe 40 for men, 30 for women. Wait, anyway, we ain't going there. But yeah.
Parenting is on-the-job training.
It is. And the thing is, JL, for me, I'm really acutely aware that I am raising a son at the same time as I'm finishing raising myself.
Wow.
I think, and this is, I come to this realization a few years ago that, none of us had perfect parents. I had really a lot of challenges growing up, a lot. And we get to the point, even if you had a perfect childhood, once you are an adult and you're out there in the world and you're making choices, you are essentially finishing raising yourself. Like, as in, you are the things that you probably couldn't learn from parents telling you, now have to experience for yourself and learn through failure and learn through mistakes. And I really think we're doing ourselves. If I really think about just what I'm trying to do in my life, and maybe others are trying to do it as well, is while I'm figuring out me and becoming a better version of me and raising myself and trying to just, do the work, I'm also needing to do the work and raise this little boy as well, which, and I don't have to figure it out. And so I think if we put that into perspective, I think 2 things. One, we give ourselves a bit of grace because we need to realize we don't have it all figured out. We realize that we're doing the work ourselves while trying to do the work on this little one. 2, You just be. I think I just kind of have to give myself this grace and space to be to not be so hard on myself. But then the other side of that is you kind of just have to go, is he alive? Is he eating? Is he happy? Are you making money?
Yeah.
Business going okay? Then success. That is success. And we celebrate our wins in that in that context, and again, movement. I'm on this journey. I'm not trying to, achieve this big success in the next 12 months. And so if I'm on this journey, I need to pace myself. So I have to celebrate all the little wins along the way towards whatever is that future state looks like. So
which is difficult sometimes, especially when you have your goals and you're accustomed being a high achiever and giving 100% all the time. And I was I saw this meme recently when it was saying, sometimes giving your all is more about being consistent. So even if you feel like you're at 30% and that's all that you have, but you give that 30%, then that's you giving your all.
Yeah.
And being consistent with that, consistently showing up for not just for the things that you want to do or the roles and responsibilities that you have, but for yourself.
Yeah. We're all just doing the best we can at the time and giving the most we can with what we have in our cup. So like your cup metaphor, if if all I have to give is 30%, then and I'm giving that 30%, then I'm giving my all.
Absolutely.
But that's interesting for relationships. You have to talk about relationships now. But that's one thing I learned also is that's something to be communicated. Like it's one thing I learned, and I learned that sort of the hard way is, especially if you're in a long-term relationship, you have to walk in. And sometimes at the end of the day, if you're both working and you're both laughing, you kind of have to go, hey, I only have 30% to give tonight to this.
Yes, I saw that.
And the other person can go, well, okay, I'm a little bit better. I maybe have 80% or something. And so you just have to manage who does what and how we communicate. But like the communicating how much you have to give, how much is in your cup, I think is really important. Yeah.
It's key, and you have to communicate. And I think sometimes, depending on the situation, some of us don't have the language to communicate. Some of us don't feel comfortable communicating because we don't want to hurt the other person. But if you don't do the things when you need to do them, then they're going to cause cracks in the foundation. And over time, those cracks are just going to deepen and widen. And it's going to be to the detriment of the relationship and both parties involved,
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and that's going to stress you out, and it's not going to be good for your mental health.
No.
So
yeah, but communication is hard, though. It's hard. It sounds like a simple thing, but again, while we're raising ourselves, if you're not aware that you're still raising yourself, then you're not going to be aware of about how you're communicating.
Correct.
And I know that because I've made those mistakes, and I'm just aware of it now, and bring it up to the surface, and I can articulate it and say it. It takes a lot of time and work.
It does, and awareness is key. And sometimes if we're not open to sharing what we may be experiencing with other people, we can't have people give us like an objective perspective. I mean, mind you can't go to everybody for everything, and there are things that you have to also figure out. But I think sometimes we don't take into consideration that there are people around us in our support systems who may have experienced something similar or who are a bit further along in the particular journey, and we can get a little perspective from them, even though we're in our totally different situations, our own situations, making our own decisions. I think support is crucial.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard though when you're living in a foreign country away from your family and your tribe, right?
I was going to ask about that. How are you managing with that? You're all, how many ever miles away, on the other side of the country? I got a two in geography. I don't remember where Australia is. Trinidad. I'm imagining it's on the other side of the world, under the equator. I don't know.
It's an interesting question for me. The distance of Australia is an interesting one for me to ponder, right? Because and New Zealand, I've been here 13 years in both countries down under. On one hand, as someone who loves solitude, I like the fact that no, people cannot just show up on my doorstep in Australia. Family and
Yeah.
friends in that will always call first because it's far. It's you need to think before you make the investment in that ticket to come. So I don't have the problem of family just saying, "Hey, I happen to be in your city."
Yes.
That
This is not New York.
that's not New York. So
Yeah.
as someone who I do love my space, and it took me a long time to realize that, JL. I wish I knew that before I made a lot of the relationship decisions I made before. I'm
Right.
a woman who loves her space. So on one hand, the distance works for me. But
Yeah.
on the other hand, there are times when I really just I feel like I need the friends who knew me before I was Cle-Anne Gabriel, the sustainability person doing, the
Yeah.
Australian, global Australian, this of the year, whatever. Like I miss
Yeah.
the friends who knew that version of me, who saw the failures, who knew what the things that I'd been through when I was younger. I miss just good friends to have a drink with and have a laugh with and just
Yeah.
not that I have good friends here, but they're new friends.
Right.
And they're Australian friends. So there's a cultural element missing too. And I miss that. So how do I cope with that? I still, of course, social media.
Right.
Social media is kind of therapeutic for me to still be able to once in a while pick up my Facebook or Instagram and scroll and see what my people back home are
Right.
doing. Help me stay connected. I get vexed every carnival. I don't want to see anybody mask pictures.
We're talking to you, Kima.
Yes, Kima, exactly. It's Kima and all and Melanie and everybody always playing mask and want to post all their pictures. I don't want to see
Yeah.
that. But no, I stay connected. Social media is important. Yeah, and I just try to stay connected, but it's hard. It is hard.
Yeah. Especially with a 14-hour time difference.
14-hour time difference. Also, I'm a different person than I was. Yes, I miss those times. I miss those friends, but I'm also not the
You're
same
not that
person.
person anymore. Yeah.
My interests have changed. My outlook on life has changed. Yes, I'm still Trinidadian, but I will have to say, when I visit Trinidad now, anything more than 2 weeks, I start to feel like I need to come back home to Australia, you know?
Wow. Australia is home now.
Australia is home now. So it's a very complex concoction of emotions and coping strategies. And coming
Yeah.
to Trinidad every 2 years I need that. I need the grounding. I just need to remind
Yeah.
myself to see able to berry. 2 weeks every 2 years helps me, just reminds me where I came from. And
Yeah.
I need to go to Australia to remind myself where I'm headed. So
I love that. Where you come from and where you're headed.
yeah.
You're so deep.
Am I? It's the
I
coffee.
find.
I tell you, the 2 shots.
Good
of
job,
espresso
Leanne. Good
in
job.
the morning. Yeah. 2 shots of espresso.
Oh my gosh, Leanne, this has been amazing. I feel like this is not enough time. I think we have to do a part 2. That would be great because I feel like there were so many insights and I would really just like to, I guess, probe your mind a little bit more. So I'm hoping that at some point in time, we'd be able to do that once you're open and our schedules align again. And you're willing to take a trip to the past and I can reach out to you in the future for us to do this again. I really hope that you'll do that, and wishing you all the best with ThinkZero. How do we find ThinkZero on Instagram, or is there anywhere we can go to get more info?
I prefer if people would follow and engage with me on LinkedIn instead of Instagram. If I could put that out there, because
Yes,
my
fair
business
enough.
is more in Australia, and LinkedIn is a big deal in Australia, even if it's not a big deal in Trinidad.
Oh
So
wow, okay.
LinkedIn, find ThinkZero on LinkedIn. That is the most impactful thing you can do instead of Instagram. And the
Okay.
website is ThinkZero.co.
ThinkZero.co, and we can find ThinkZero also on LinkedIn.
That's right. And find me on LinkedIn and you'll find ThinkZero.
That's awesome. Would we be able to, like if people or organizations in Trinidad wanted to reach out to you or to ThinkZero to do something along the lines of sustainability, are you open to that?
Yeah, the email address is on the website, so you can go advisory@thinkzero.co is the email address for advice or any kind of consulting work around sustainability.
Cle-Anne, this has been an absolute delight. Technical difficulties aside, this has been.
We got there. It doesn't matter how we got there, but we made it.
But we got here. We did it. I'm so proud of us. So thank you so much. Is there any special way that people say goodbye in Australia?
No,
You
goodbye.
just say goodbye?
I was just
Okay.
thinking hello. Say good day. They say good day.
Good day, mate.
I don't know how to say goodbye properly, like an Australian. How do we say goodbye? Goodbye. See ya. See ya, mate. See ya, mate.
Okay, I have a friend who did some work in Australia some years ago. He went for training and he picked up this thing. He said everybody would say no worries.
Yeah.
So
I say no worries too. All the
So
time.
I also stole that. So I would like to tell you as you move forward in this new chapter of your life, no worries.
Yeah.
I mean, some worries because you're an entrepreneur, but no worries.
No worries.
No worries. So Cle-Anne, thank you so much, guys. We have had Dr. Cle-Anne Gabriel on with us. Make sure and follow her and ThinkZero on LinkedIn. And this was an amazing, beautiful, insightful conversation. We're looking forward to more of this. And until next time, I'm Jill Valdez, your host. Take care and make sure and take good care of your mental health. All right? Bye.
Bye.
And yay. Thank you, Cle-Anne. Cle-Anne, you're an angel. Thank you so much for that because, girl, I was losing my mind.